Let's put a computer together. Moo! Hello there. This is the first ever build video. So, no further ado, I'm going to get right into this. First of all, you got to install your CPU, which this is the B250i Gaming Pro AC motherboard right there. And that's mini ITX. And the first thing you want to remember about installing your CPU is if you're installing an Intel CPU, then you want to align the notches, the little triangle, to the bottom left hand side of the plate there. And you just basically drop it in nice and easy. Make sure just give it a nice little wiggle, just give it a nothing too hard there, and you'll know when it's in. So then you close the mechanism and then you make it tighter. You pull this notch down like that, and basically that is the end of the first step. The next step is of course your memory, and of course we're using dual channel GSkill 2100 megahertz DDR4 memory. And basically this goes in one way, and on DDR4 there's only one notch per RAM slot, and that one happens to be on the topmost edge of the motherboard, and they just go down just like that. This is the easiest part. Of course, getting compatibility, if it's compatible, then that's another question, because you want to check your manual and make sure your motherboard covers and accepts whatever speed RAM you got. So it's something to note. Okay, that is. And one other thing is the CPU is the Pentium G4400. So 2 cores right there, you know, perfect just for web browsing and some very light, low resolution gaming. So basically, next step is the CPU heatsink. You want to get that on there. And how this goes is, out of the box, you get about 4 pieces. You get the heatsink and the fan put together, and then you get... Of course, I only have 2. That's acceptable. This 2 is middle piece enough here that goes around, and then, of course, that's basically the minimum nub that you want. And what I'm going to do here is, after you get in your white nubbins in there, you're going to want to apply some thermal paste. Right here. First I need to open it. Okay. Yeah, they give you some right there after you buy the part. So just get this little packet out on here. As long as it's on there, and that's all that matters. Yeah, it's all out. Okay, next step is I'm gonna actually line this so that way the fan is blowing toward the back. And basically the trick here is to put both of the clamps down at the same time. Kind of like that, and then you put in your black nubbins and you secure it. Of course, we're securing it with 2 of well, half of the required holding power, but that's okay because as long as this thing doesn't get it, thrown across the room or whatever, you know, then it should be a-okay. Hello, this is the PC that I will be making this little transfer into and putting this mini ITX motherboard combo into that case, which already has something in it, and I would like to test it out first. And obviously, yes, it does run, and it lights up nice like that. So our goal would be to try to get it as close to that as possible. The next step, after you unplug your power cable and make sure your computer is off, unplug all the stuff that connects to the motherboard that isn't part of the motherboard. So your 20-pin power and your SATA cable and your 4-pin or 8-pin CPU power, and then your front panel switch, of course, and your front panel audio, and that's about it that's connected to this computer, because the two front USBs are USB 3.0 and this motherboard does not support USB 3.0, so there's actually two USBs up front that were never ever used during the whole entire lifespan and use of this PC right here. That's all going to change today. Next, what you want to do is dismount the motherboard by unscrewing, in my case, 4 screws. Actually, in my case, there's only 3 screws, but you can screw in a case, motherboard like this with only 2 screws. If I don't recommend it, but you can pass by with it, you know. Sometimes you run into a case where you have a standoff that gets stuck. So in that case, what you do is you grab your pliers, you hold on to the standoff, and then you reverse screw with your Phillips head screwdriver, and that's how you get a standoff out right there. So then you put that back in, and that's how you get the motherboard off. Next, I'm going to put in the motherboard, and it just fits onto the holes like so, and then you screw it in, and then you plug in the power in the front panel and the frontal USB, and it's usually going pretty smoothly. Pretty much I have 4 cables now, and I'm going to plug them in. They only go in a certain way, and start off with the 20-pin power there, or 24-pin, I always forget what it is, and then CPU power. It turns out that the CPU power cord was too short to come through the side and too short to come up through the top and then the bottom. So I had to remove the exhaust fan, rear exhaust fan, and now also I need to get the top of it because there is not enough room. Well, I'm going to have to remove them either way, but I'm going to remove them because I'm going to replace them with white fans. So this is part of the video right here. Okay, two-phase fans out of there. Now I will attempt to plug in the CPU power, which now there's actually a hole where I can poke my fingers through. My fist kind of goes through there, and actually I can see a little bit better as well. But basically, it couldn't be a millimeter longer, shorter. Okay, I got it in. I will screw in two fans, two white fans. Got some white fans screwed in right there. The next step is to plug in the rest of the connectors and boot it up. SATA power, not SATA power, but SATA data, and then USB 3.0, and the front panel connector. I'm gonna have to guess at it. Also, it might be, yeah, I think it's these two right here. Now to check if it works, which it does. And we're logging in the Windows. So that's just how easy it is, and that right there, that's somebody's PC right there. And the only thing that I can really talk bad about it is, really, besides the $5 power supply that's in there, the $5 power supply is CPU power connector, which is that one right there that goes over the PCI Express slot right there. You know, that does not allow anybody to use that PCI Express slot, so that's kind of out of the question. But for a person that's only gonna use the computer for web browsing and Facebook games and that sort of thing, then I would say it is perfectly a-okay. And so that's how you do it. And have a good rest of your day. And I will catch you another time. Goodbye.